I wanted to start by telling you all that we are very grateful to all of you for the work that you do. You have the boots on the ground. You do incredible work throughout the North State to make our communities safer and stronger and healthier. And for that, we are very grateful, and we really mean it, all of us here at the Community Foundation. And we come to work every day because we want to support you in your successes. We are here for the community. I'm Justine, and Megan is also on this call. She might pipe in and say hi, she might not, but she is working very hard watching the chat and making sure all your questions are answered. To that point, please use the chat for questions. There's a lot of us on here today, 81, which is fabulous. So we're asking for the chats, and we're not going to have people unmute. We might do that at the end, depending on how much time we have. We are recording this webinar, so I want to make that very clear to everybody, full disclosure. And one little point of interest is that I'm very well aware that we all have different learning styles. Some people need to hear it, some people need to read it, some people need to kind of do it a little bit. So there's a lot of words on these screens, and that's for the people who need the words or want to pay attention now and then don't have to write feverishly and can look at the slide deck later. So if lots of words on the screen are not good for you, look away, don't worry about it. But they're there because I'm trying to hit all the learning styles. This is our agenda. I'm going to very quickly touch base on what a community foundation is and what we do in particular. I'm going to go over the grants that are available right now. We're going to talk about eligibility and due diligence. I'm going to give you a lot of coaching on prep work and then also how to write the application. Some tips on the different grants, depending on which one you're applying for. Then we're going to do a little technical assistance with how to access and log into the portal. And then after you've submitted the application, what happens next? And we have a number of resources for you. So I just have a couple of quick slides at the end for that. We will be sending this recording. So everyone who's registered for this webinar, we will be emailing the link to, we'll clean it up and put it in the YouTube channel that we have. So we'll send you a link to that plus the slide deck. So community foundations are found all over the United States. They got really popular in the 80s. I'm not going to do a history lesson, but we are created by people in the community with their funds. And our whole purpose is to support the community. So people like you and I could start a fund at the Community Foundation. Agencies start their own funds. And what that does is it creates money that grows in perpetuity to support the community with its ever-changing needs. Specifically, our Community Foundation support Shasta, Siskiyou, and Tehama counties. We do a lot of supportive work in that area. We also grant to everywhere across the United States. We support Modoc and Trinity counties in addition to our 3 locals by specific funds, and one of them today is the McConnell Fund. And we also have North State Giving Tuesday that they're involved, that we support them through. We do a lot of things to support you all and your organizations. Competitive grants are our most outward facing, and that's what you're seeing today. We have donor advised funds, and there's over 180 funds here at Community Foundation of the North State. And they're for scholarships, they're for competitive grants, but a lot of them are donor advised funds where a person or people have a fund here and they have things that they're interested in. And if I'm connected with you, my nonprofits, and I know something's come up and you need a little extra help, I might not have any money for you, but maybe I could hear what you're saying and then connect later with a fund advisor who might be interested in supporting you. So there's this whole other side to what we do to support the community. I've mentioned scholarships. I have a slide at the end that because we are accepting them right now. And I'm sure you're all aware of North State Giving Tuesday, and we also have the Jumpstart program. This last little bit on the slide is basically just think of us as a charitable bank. People put funds here, we grow them, and we grant them out to the community. So for your nonprofits, did you also know that we can process gifts that you're not able to accept? We never want you to say no to free money. We are here for you. So if someone has stocks for you, maybe they have Bitcoin, maybe they have real estate, don't say no, we can't accept that. Say, hey, we work with the Community Foundation of the North State. Let's give them a call and see how we can, if we can accept this donation. So don't ever not call us. And this is Andrea Scott, our Chief Philanthropy Officer, and she is here to help. She's brilliant. All right, that's enough about us. Let's get into why you're all here. So the grant overview, we have 3 available right now. We have the Bernie Regional Community Fund, the McConnell Fund, and Redding Rancheria Community Fund. And these are the due dates. You'll see them all over the website as well, but they're right here, 11:59 p.m. on the due date, because if it's midnight, then it's the next day. So I'm going to give you a second. If you're like me, I like to do screen snips and write little notes in Word. So I'm going to give the screen just a second in case anyone's doing that. 3, 2, 1. All right. So I'm just do a little bit about each of the funds and who's eligible and what they want to support. So for the Bernie Regional Community Fund, the grant range is $1,000 to $7,500. And this is really for general support. These are precious dollars, as you all know, for nonprofit organizations. And you don't have to have a special project. You can, but you don't have to. It serves the service area needs to be in the greater Bernie area. And these boundaries were set like they fall in with the Fall River Joint Unified School District. And you can see all the areas there, Bernie, Castle, Fall River Mills, Hat Creek, MacArthur, and Old Station. The application is going to ask just general information about your organization, how you anticipate using the funds. There is no budget. There is no project timeline. It's a very simple application. There is a caveat that there are no grants awarded for schools or organizations that directly support schools. And then you can see the other things like we don't grant to individuals. This fund won't grant to churches. And there's more that are in the application about do's and don'ts, but those are just a couple things I wanted to point out. And of course, this fund was created by a seed gift from Pattern Energy Group. The Redding Rancheria Community Fund. These grants are from $1,000 to $10,000, and I need you all to know that the average grant size is $2,500. It doesn't mean I discourage you from applying for $10,000, but I just want you to have a realistic expectation. This is again for general support. These are precious, precious dollars. You don't have to be doing a special project for this, but you cannot use it for personnel or salaries. These grants support Shasta and Trinity counties. So those are the areas that can be supported if your organization's there. Like I said, this is great. It's for general information. You're going to ask for general information for your organization, how you anticipate using the funds. Again, there's no project budget, but when we get to the budget slide where I give you pointers, take note if you're applying for this, because we do want to be able to see a quick breakdown of the costs, and I'll show you an easy way to do that. We're very, very grateful to Redding Rancheria. This community fund was established because they want to continue supporting and have always all of the surrounding communities, and they love to provide as many grants as possible. They've been instrumental in the Community Foundation since its inception. All right, last but not least is the McConnell Fund, and these are larger grants. They cover, if you're in Modoc and Trinity County, you can apply for up to $30,000. And if you're in Shasta, Siskiyou, and Tehama, you can apply for up to $50,000. There are 2 main purposes for these grants. You could either be buying equipment. It doesn't have to be something massive. Like you can see, this is a digger from a prior grant that was given. I think it's a digger. Someone's going to tell me I'm embarrassing myself, but we're just going to call it a digger. And then it can't be for expendable. It can't be something that's consumable in nature. Or it can be for building expenses, for your building, for doing capital improvements. But you have to be owned. The applying organization needs to own the building or land. So if you're leasing, we got to talk, because the most likely it's not eligible. They focus on so many beautiful areas, the whole wide sweeping area of really the human experience, from arts and culture, recreation, youth, healthcare, you name it. So it's a really big, they just want to help the community. A few noteworthy points. We're going to get into reading the application itself and knowing, wow, I need to really pay attention. Am I eligible? But some noteworthy ones here with the McConnell Fund. They absolutely positively will not cover admin or operating costs or program expenses, nothing consumable in nature. We provide grants to public entities. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But the McConnell Fund will not provide grants if this is for essential government services, meaning things that the taxpayer money is already supposed to be paying for. They will cover things that are extra or really community-based. And we do make grants to government entities from the McConnell Foundation. Sorry, from the McConnell Fund. Okay. Oh, and if you get equipment, it can't be stored at a personal space. So I see a question if we can apply for more than one grant fund. You can. So you can apply to McConnell, you can apply to Bernie, and you can apply to Reading Rancheria. You can apply to all three. You can only submit one application to each. You can't do multiple. So if you're an organization that has many programs or you're in multiple counties, you're going to have to pick one for each separate fund. All right, so I'm really curious which ones you're all applying for, just so I can gauge my audience here a little bit. So we have a quick survey, if you could, and Megan's going to help with that. I'm just curious. And you can give more than one answer, by the way. You can put all three if you're all three. It should let you. Okay. So I don't know if you can see that, but it's about 14% are for Bernie, 54 for Reading Rancheria, and McConnell 89. So that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Thank you. $50,000 is the max for McConnell if you are in Shasta, Siskiyou, or Tehama counties, and $30,000 is the max if you're in Modoc or Trinity. I just saw a question pop up. That's why I went back. And that is in the application. Don't worry, this is not the only place you're going to see it. I'm going to close the quiz down, Megan.
Okay, sounds good.
So the McConnell due date is February 25th. And don't be sorry, that's fine. You're welcome, Charles. So we're going to talk about eligibility and due diligence. The IRS has a lot to do with this, so it's important that we follow their rules. We are allowed to give grants to nonprofits who have a 501c3 public charity status with the IRS and that you're in good standing. We also can grant to public entities like schools, cities, special districts, federally recognized tribes. We can also grant to programs that are fiscally sponsored by either of the above. If you're a non-federally recognized tribe, you're welcome to apply either if you have your own nonprofit status or you could be fiscally sponsored by the first two. But there's always restrictions. Just because you're eligible doesn't mean the fund allows. Remember, Bernie doesn't fund schools. So that's just things to think about. But we're just talking about eligibility and due diligence. Well, our due diligence is that we have to check and verify that not only are you current with the IRS, but also at the state level. So let's talk about these quick requirements because I'm asking each of you to be responsible nonprofit managers and administrators and do your own charity health checkup. You should like calendar it every year. But before you apply, I recommend you do that because if we have to check that before we accept the application. And if there's something that's a hiccup, we're going to reach out to you and then that delays the process. So I would say just get a jump start on it. Megan's going to put some links in. She already has. She's amazing. Okay, so first of all, you can't have any late or past due reports with a community foundation. That's different than just having, when this grant you currently have has a future due date, that's fine. But if you had a grant that you were late on a report, you can't apply. So check your status. And this is the link here to the login to our portal. For the IRS, the easiest way to check your status is to go to guidestar.org. Megan's got the links in there. And you just have to create an account. This doesn't cost anything, and then you can check. And then the California Secretary of State, we check to make sure that your Secretary of State statement of information is up to date. And it'll also tell us if you're behind with your state taxes and that. So that's the site we go to find that. So I recommend you do that. Keep those links for yourself and keep your organization, that the business side of it, healthy by making sure those are all up to date. All right, so we're moving on to where to find the application and previewing and talking about the application. So this is what we're moving on to. So I have some little pro tips on the pages. First, I recommend on this slide, preview your application first. Don't start writing it in the actual grant portal. I recommend you get your Word, open up an Excel, and do all this work there. And then once it's done, upload it. So where do you find it? You go to cfnorthstate.org/grant/grants, and Megan has that link again in our chat. It's our website basically, and then go to the grants drop down. So you scroll down just a tiny bit and you'll see all 3 of the grants that are open and available now, and just click on the blue highlighted link. It'll take you to that page. So we're pretending I did that here, and we're over on the page that opens up. So we're looking at Bernie Regional here. Up at the top already tells you some of the stuff that I mentioned about who's eligible to apply and what it's for. And then you want to click the preview application questions right here to get to the application and be able to download that PDF. So when you do, this is what it'll look like. Here's the Bernie Regional Community Funds from last year. It says 2025. And it'll download the PDF of it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the PDF. First of all, I know everyone's different on what how their computer works. In my system, I click my little download button and it opens up and I save it on my computer. I know there's different levels of savviness on working the computer here. We have some very grassroots people, so I'm just speaking to capture and be helpful for everybody who's watching. Okay, so you've opened this up and we're going to get in and say, how can I make the best application for the project I have? First and foremost, you have to read the details. Any good grant writer reads the details and follows them to the T. So in any RFP you see, and this is ours, you'll see information at the top about the parameters. So check it out. Are you in the right geographic area that they serve? Are you asking for more than what's allowed? Are you asking for the things they allow? What are the project types or purpose? Your durable equipment or your building related projects. Everything you need to know to make a really strong application is in here. Here's the eligible organizations and what grants are not awarded for. You must read these. You must highlight them like you're doing a research paper and write to this when you're making sure so you don't get disqualified. Okay, some other tips. When you're looking at this PDF, and also when you're online, the same, if it has a red asterisk, it's a required question, so you know you have to answer it. So the first question you're always going to be asked is, what's your business entity? Are you a 501c3? Are you a public entity? Or are you fiscally sponsored? How you answer these will then determine when you're online what you're going to answer for the financial documents for your organization. The proposal name trips people up. I often get a long essay in here, and we don't want that. What's written in here gets printed on your checks, follows like the lead header in the portal of the grant. We want it to be a phrase. We want it to just say what this is. To purchase playground equipment for TK students at Lassen View Elementary. That's great. Do I know why they need it? Do I know why they can't buy it on their own? Do I know why playing is so important for TK kids and their development? No, I don't need to here. Those things they'll include in the actual application. Please keep this short. You'll do yourself a favor. We want a quick summary. So the other thing on the PDF that I want to point out to you is the organizational financials. So on that first screen, it says, what organization type are you? And I've repeated it up here on your PDF. So whichever one of these you answered, only go to that to figure out what are the financial documents you're going to have to provide. I'm trying to make this as clear as possible because in the portal, it'll automatically only show you. But on the PDF, I have to show all of them, and I don't want you to worry if something applies to you. So it happens, and so I'm trying to be as clear as possible. Okay, I'm going to go on to some narrative tips. You might not all know that our applications are reviewed by community panel members. So I'm sitting here in Shasta County. Do I know like what's important in Modoc County? No. I try to stay connected, but I don't live there. The same applies to all of our communities and all of the grants. So we recruit and train community members to be our panel readers, and we train them on that, and they make recommendations with our guidance to our board of directors, who then approves the grants. So you're talking to people, the people who are reading your applications don't necessarily know your industry. So when you use work jargon, it might not translate. So try to avoid that. You can use acronyms, but explain them the first time, like spell it out and then use the acronym so they know what you're talking about. I can't say enough how important it is to be compelling. You might need to replace the roof because it's leaking. Yes, the PDF will be sent to everybody. Sorry, that was just like popped up there. You might need to replace the roof. It's leaking on all your stuff. That's important. But unless we know the people that are coming to your building and using it and the good you're doing for the community, we can't weigh very well why this is so important to fund yours instead of somebody else's. So be compelling. Bring that human element in, or that animal human element in, depending on your organization. I cannot overstate this. Otherwise, things get lost in translation. You don't have to write a book, but just tell a little bit of the story so we know why this is so valuable. Be authentic and use your agency's voice. So we don't have a specific policy, any policy yet internally on using AI. I think it would be an incredibly important and valuable tool to edit things. If you're trying to wordsmith and you can't quite get your finger on it and you can't get the word, use it for those. But I think every single 100 of us who's sitting on this webinar right now can say that we know if something comes word for word spit out of like a chat GPT. So I don't think you guys are going to do that, but also be aware. Use the tool as a tool, but make sure that the panel members who are reading it know that this is important to you. We don't want them to think that you don't care. So make sure that's not lost there. And that's all I have to say about AI. Another thing about being authentic and using your agency's voice is we had one grant cycle, and it was for the McConnell Fund grant. There was a vendor who works with youth organizations, specifically for childcare. And I could tell from the applications that they had solicited, and this isn't bad or wrong, because they provide really good tools for these nonprofits, but they had talked to nonprofits in each of the 5 counties, and we got almost identical applications because they offered to write the grant. So that is not a bad thing, but you need to write the grant. So you need to say, yeah, what is the most important thing your organization needs, and have it be authentic coming from you. So it's not a boilerplate thing coming from somebody else. Okay, so for the McConnell Fund, you do need to do a budget. We're going to talk about that. Make sure that afterwards when you're reading it all, make sure that what you say in your narrative or what you say in your budget, that they align. You're going to talk about volunteers. We want like what they're giving to you in the budget, and you'll see in a second how that looks. So make sure that, like, if somebody has a question about the budget, they can say, oh, well, actually, they told me about this in the narrative. It makes sense to me. It's important for the McConnell Fund to make a strong application. You want to demonstrate community support. That's really, really important. I'm just going to say things that make your application stronger. That's if you show the community support, and it can be because maybe they've donated, maybe you had a survey, maybe just like so many people come and you need to do this for them, that they really want it. When we talk about the budget, maybe a little fundraiser, like this group really needs this, and we had little canisters in the community at the Ace Hardware, and people donated because they really want it. Any way for your group to show that this is important to the community is really powerful for the McConnell Fund, because that's what they like to do. They like to support and improve the community. Do you have outside support for the project? And this is not just the volunteer time in the community, but it's also financial. It's stronger if you are not asking the McConnell Fund to be the first money in. In fact, if you say you're going to raise money so that with the McConnell, you'll have enough to do the project, that's not as strong as saying we've already raised it and now McConnell will make it happen. So that is a much stronger grant because you've already got the other money secured. So we're not worried if we fund you that you're going to not raise it, and now we could have given that money to another organization that is ready. We call that being shovel ready. So you want to think about those things. And then on your financials, if you say you have 10,000 set aside for this project, when we look at your financials, we want to see, easily like, oh yeah, they do. It's in the bank. It's right there. The cherry on top piece is you might be doing work. You could make this project happen, but if you had this grant, it would be extra special for the kids who come in. It would mean that we have better windows that are being installed because they're triple paned, and then it'll help the environment and it'll help keep our costs down for utilities. So it makes it a cherry on top by having this piece from the McConnell, this support from McConnell. Do you have to do every one of these? No. The more you do them, the stronger your application. So I'm just giving you some tips. All right. You have permission to keep it simple. I know I just said a lot, but you also have permission to keep it simple. You don't have to write forever. And people write very succinct grants and still do all the things I just mentioned. You don't have to write to character limit. Don't worry about that. It's not a college essay. And I really recognize that you really recommend that you have somebody who's not familiar with your organization read your application to see if it makes sense to them. Okay. Budget tips. If you want to be competitive, check your math. Hopefully you're using Excel. And I'm just going to talk about these two things because we do talk about wanting you to bring in some budgets for both McConnell and Reading Rancheria. The online portal system that we use, the format of the platform, we don't like to use that to force you to fill in blanks that we create because every one of you is so different. So we think it's better for you if you just create your own budget. Then you can cater it to you and not be forced to fill in holes that don't make sense. So having said that, I'm going to talk about the McConnell Fund. A grantee in the past created this, and it was phenomenal. It was the best I've seen of saying, here's all the expenses for the project right here. And here's how we're covering those costs with our income. So these are just a random assortment of things that I put down here for the example. So all these things are what goes into our project. These are the costs of them, and this is the total cost of the project at the bottom. This current grant we're asking you for, this is what they're paying for. Make it very clear. We want to know exactly what this money is paying for. So you might have some other funds that you should have that I really recommend towards the project. So you can put in this other grant. If it's pending, make sure we know it's pending. And then make sure you answer, if it is pending, can you still do the project if you're not awarded this pending grant? So that'll be a question that comes up. Just put it in there so we know. No matter how small, if you can put general funds towards this project, it shows you have skin in the game. It doesn't mean you have to spend extra money. Maybe your own staff are going to do some work on a thing for this project and you're paying them through your general fund. That's fine. And say what it is they're going to be doing and put general fund. You don't have to put staff. It could be like site prep, and that's what your general fund is going for. Community fundraisers are things like North State Giving Tuesday. Maybe you did North State Giving Tuesday and all of it's going to repair your roof. And so you can put that in all that money is going towards that. And so you can put that in there, all the different community fundraisers you did for this project. In-kind donations cover a couple of things. Volunteer time, obviously easy. If you have volunteers who are doing prep work or painting or cleaning up or whatever they're doing for this project, what would it cost if you paid somebody else to do that? And don't oversell it. Be honest and ethical and reasonable, but put a value on that because you're not paying somebody. This is monetizing your volunteer time, and it is an important part of the matching funds for the grant. It shows the community wants your project because they're volunteering their own hours and time that they could be doing something else. The other thing that gets missed sometimes is that when you have a vendor who says, this thing costs $1,000 to do, but I'm going to give you a $500 discount. I want you to say what they're doing is say it's $1,500, right? For therapist time and travel. And they're giving you a $500 discount, put that here. So even though you're really only going to pay them $1,000 cash, the fact that they gave you a discount should be on here. Because if you were anyone else, they'd be charging you $1,500. This is a community member supporting your project. Monetize it. Show the community supporting you. This vendor lives here and is giving me a discount. So all these are ways that you can creatively show and honestly show, you're not making anything up, that the community is supporting you for this project. Reading Rancheria is a little different. There is no budget, but these 15 to 18 community members who sit around the table and want to support as many of you as possible, they need to be able to decide. They meet a couple times to go over this. They put a lot of heart into this process. They want to know if you can accept partial funding and make it easy for them as they're looking at your narrative. If I can't give you the full 10,000 you're asking for, I can give you 2,500. What would that cover? Let me do some quick math. So how many kids could I help if I can't give all of it? Let me do the quick math. So just work it into your narrative and make it really easy for them. So that's what I mean by incorporating the cost into your narrative. Somebody mentioned this is a great template for the budget. I could not agree more, and I highly recommend you borrow this, you copy this, use it for all your projects. Your bookkeepers, your fiscal managers, they will be very grateful to you.
We also have another question, Justine.
Yes,
What if fundraiser is planned for later in the year? Do we enter it in the budget line item or as an estimate?
That's a really great question, and I think a lot of people probably share it. So if I'm understanding you correctly, I have this project I'm working on, and I have a fundraiser that's planned 3 months from now. And I don't know exactly what I'm going to raise, but I have a kind of an idea. I'm going to put that idea in, I'll put what I'm budgeting to raise from that realistically in there, and then I'll mention that since it's in the future, do a little sentence in your narrative. Or maybe on this that you upload. See, you're going to create your own Excel list, right? So you might put a little asterisk next to your fundraiser dollar, and at the bottom put a note like based on prior years, this is how much we've raised. We anticipate, X amount. If we don't raise the full amount, we will use our general funds to make the difference. We'll still be able to do the project. That's what I would do if it were me. Any other questions before I move on, Megan?
Yes, actually, for the McConnell grant, if they're applying for equipment and they're leasing the land, is that just for capital improvement?
Yeah. So if you're getting equipment, we don't care that you're leasing the land, because when you go to the next place, you take that piece of equipment with you. It's what stays there is the problem. So especially if the land is owned by a private person, we're not going to put grant money to a private person's benefit, right? Every once in a great blue moon, if it's another, I won't even get into it. Say if you're working connected with the government in some way, and you don't own the property, but you're also part of the government, that kind of special districty thing, don't not apply. Reach out to me one-on-one, please. So there might be like the tiniest little exception, but it's not the norm for nonprofits to think that way. Yeah.
Awesome. One more great question, Justine. If we are part of a collective purchase agreement and can get special pricing on equipment through that partnership, do we use the retail price or the discounted price received in the in-kind column, even if it's a national collective?
That's a really great question. It's I would have follow-up questions. I'd say like, well, is this a local vendor who's like really involved in the community, or is this because you're a member of a guild or whatever, and then you just naturally I'd have follow-up. So maybe that's a question to talk one-on-one to really drill in. So any of you who have that type of scenario, you can go ahead and give me a call and we'll just chat, have a little conversation. I think would be the best way. It could be yes, it could be no. I think I need to know more to say a blanket. It's a great question.
Perfect. Thank you, Justine.
Yeah. So many of you have financial departments and people who do your books internally, and you have profit and loss statements printed every month. Your board of directors reads them. You know what profit and loss statements are and balance sheets are. But just as likely, maybe a lot of you are more grassroots nonprofits and you don't have the funding to support all of that. So I'm just going to do a very quick talk about what a profit and loss statement is, what a balance sheet is, and what we're asking for. A profit and loss statement is all the income and all the expenses that your organization endured in a specific time frame, and you can name that time frame. So we want you to show us the most recent 12 months, not 24, sorry, 12 month time frame. We don't want your 2023 tax returns. That does not help us. That doesn't tell us where you are right now. We want your last 12 months income and expense. For you bigger organizations, don't worry about it not being audited. That's not what we're asking for. We want to know this time frame. So in that, you can see in this example that you have all your different types of revenue. So in accounting, you have each type of income has an account number and a name. And so when you receive a grant, you put it into the grant line. If you receive dues, you put it into the dues. If you have a fundraising, so you can see. This is where if you said you had some money from a grant, it would be in the grant line and it wouldn't be zero. Similar with expenses, you do the same thing. So if the difference between that is really big, either a gain or a loss, we'll want you to explain it because we'll be like, wait, what's going on here? Why did they lose $50,000 last year? Are they closing? Like, it might actually be you didn't lose. You might have gotten a grant in the prior fiscal year, but you didn't pay for it till this fiscal year. So this fiscal year, your money isn't in, but your expense is. You just explain that. Say, oh, we actually got the grant money in a prior fiscal year. We're paying for it now. Easy peasy, done. You can put a little asterisk, explain it on there. You can put it in your narrative. It's easy. So that's a profit and loss statement, which in the nonprofit world is also referred to as statement of activities. The balance sheet is also known as a statement of financial position in the world of nonprofit. And a balance sheet is one day in time. How much is in the bank today? How much do you owe people today? What's your building worth today? So it's one snapshot of a day. Different than a profit and loss, which is the time period. So we want to see that for the last day that matches your profit and loss statement. Because if you tell us that you had this grant, then it would be, and you haven't spent it yet, then we'd see the cash sitting in your cash account. Or if you're waiting for it, it would be in your account receivable. We have this grant coming, but we haven't received it yet. So it's in the account receivable, for example. That's what account receivable means. We're waiting to receive the money. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all you need to know for your financial statements for those grassroots nonprofits or people who don't work in that world. There was a question about the fiscal year dates. So people who are more savvy about and more sophisticated or more involved in their financials, they know that like you can have your fiscal year as January to December. That's a calendar year. Or it could be July 1st to June 30th. The feds go all weird and they go through October and September because that just makes life more fun for everyone else. So there's a whole relationship thing. I'm not going to get into it right now between your balance sheet and it falls in your fiscal year versus your profit and loss. I'm just going to say this, have it be your most recent 12 months. So hopefully by the time you're submitting a grant in February or March, you've got, or in February, sorry, they're all due in February. Forget I said March. That we are seeing that your profit and loss, you can have everything hopefully is entered that you know what your income and expenses were in for the year. We want it close. We want an idea if you're solvent. Basically, that's what we're getting at. There's a question about durable equipment I just saw, Megan. And durable equipment in like the big industries, like that's usually like, it's a more very clear delineation of what it means. For us, for this, it's meaning it's not consumable. Think not consumable. People have gotten grants for office equipment before and things like that.
Yeah, that's great. We've had a few questions about that, so thank you for answering.
You're welcome. Okay, photo tips. Can I move on to fun? Okay, photo tips. We often get pictures like this. Not that that's horrible. You're showing me the chair that's broken or the desk that's falling apart or whatever. But this is a really hard picture for us to get a good grasp on. But if you have, like, say, Megan here standing behind, maybe she'd be sad. This is an after picture. She bought the replaced chair. But before, she might be sad. She'd be like, look at my broken chair and my volunteers can't sit in it. So if you bring the human element in and make it more interesting for us, then we get it. So people in pictures cannot be overstated. You might say, Justine, I can't show faces because I'm working in an organization with children or abused people or what have you. We totally get it. Did you know that you can tell a really compelling story without showing a face? We know what these children are doing. You might be providing aftercare. They're doing child walk chalk. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. So I don't know who these kids are. Nobody knows. It's a great picture. There's so much in that picture. Same with the swings. I mean, you just got this playground installed. It's great. Or maybe it would be sad if it was broken and the kids can't play. I think you get the picture. It can't be overstated how important telling your story is in your pictures. One of the things in our software program is that you can only do one upload per question. So in a question, if it says you can upload 2 or 3 photos, really easy solution. Open up Word, or if you're in Pages, pretend I'm saying Pages, I'm going to say Word. Open up Word, put a couple photos in there, save it as a PDF, upload the PDF. There's your multiple pictures. Great thing about that, you can put a little caption underneath each picture before you save it as a PDF. So that's how you solve that problem. So before applying, ask, are you competitive, not just eligible? It's a competitive grant. It really is. And so just because you're eligible and you can check the box on the first page doesn't mean you're competitive. Do you align with the goals? What is this really good? Is this something the community has shown that we really need? And do you have enough time to complete everything that the grant requires, both to apply, but also afterwards to actually do the work? All right, if there's nothing else, I can move on, but I do see a question about organizational financials. Yes. Public entities, I didn't put it on there because you're going to see it's very simple. It says we just want your department budget for the year. And I know with that the counties will do revised budget. You can use whatever the most recent one is for your department. We don't need the entire cities or the entire school districts. Just if you're doing something for art, you're doing something for the classroom, you can condense it. Yeah. Okay, 15 minutes. We're going to end right on time. This is great. So for the grant portal, thank you, Megan, just put the link in. You go back to our website and scroll down on applying for grants and visit our portal by clicking here. And this is what the login screen says. This I recommend you doing sooner, but just to make sure you're all good to go, that you have your login set up. So please read this over here. Existing users, you don't need to listen to me right now. If you're a new user, call us and we'll add you. If you click create new account, that actually means create new account for your organization. Don't do that until you know for a fact that you don't have an organization profile in our portal already. Just give us a call and we can let you know. There's our phone number. We all answer the phone and we will find out for you. You don't want to just like go ahead and do it because you can't be bothered to call or you're in a rush. And now you've got 2 organizations in our portal and they're not talking to each other. And that's bad for you because you can't look at your prior grants. You can't borrow from your prior applications. Don't do that. That doesn't help you. So when you log in, thank you, Erna Friedeberg, Executive Director of Northern Valley Catholic Social Service, who gave us permission to do a slide of her dashboard. So this is what your dashboard looks like. I'm just sharing this for those of you who've never logged in before. To apply, if you're logging in, you're ready to go, you've got all your prep work done and you're ready to apply. So you're going to click the apply button. and it's going to take you to our eligibility quiz, really just to make sure you think you are, but we're just going to double check here before we let you into the application. So these are last fall's. So let's say you were applying to the Women's Fund. You would look at the screen here. This is all that's on your screen, right? Just these 3 eligibility quizzes for the current grant cycle. You click your eligibility button, and this over here on this side is the actual eligibility quiz. Literally, are you a nonprofit or 501c3 or public entity? How much are you applying for? Is it between whatever the guidelines are of the grant? Are you following what they say they want to do? And do you have any late reports due here at the Community Foundation? So you just do that and click submit eligibility, and then your eligibility page pops open. And the thing about why I put after is when we started, we could only see these 3, but now this Women's Fund is now closed and it says you're eligible, and down here is your box to say, okay, now you can apply, and you click that apply button. If you accidentally put something wrong here, happens every cycle, we're used to it, don't worry about it, we're human, give us a call, we can reset it for you. If you participated in North State Giving Tuesday, that's a different portal than this. So you might or might not have a grant, have a profile in what we call GLM, the grant portal. So when you're all done, when you're working on this, you can stop at any time, save on the last page, and then come back in and work on it. Just make a note to yourself. Every once in a while, a person will come back and forget that they didn't come back and hit submit. Usually it's because you're waiting to get your financials or your budget to upload, or maybe some pictures. That's usually what I see happen. So that's what you can do anytime, come back. So when you've done that and you've submitted your application, you'll get a confirmation email we've gotten it, that's been submitted. And then oftentimes people will call and say, how do I get my what I submitted? So go back into the application and you click this application packet button, and it'll download it onto your computer. And reach out if you have any technical questions. So after you've submitted an application, we're going to communicate a lot by email. So make sure that we're contacts, because I've had it happen. I'll be sending you follow-up questions from the panel. Then you don't reply and the time's running out, because we have a less than a week window usually from a follow-up question from the panelists to when I want you to reply, or maybe just a week. And they're usually like, I wouldn't do that to you if it was like, go do research. This is just clarifying questions that I know you can answer pretty quickly. But we still need you to answer in time to continue you on in the process. So just add us as a contact. That way it doesn't go to spam. So after we get your applications, we're going to do your due diligence and check that. If there's any issues there, we'll send you an email. Really would love it if you could just go right now when you get off the phone, put it in your calendar when you're going to go check for yourself. The panelists will review the applications. They might have follow-up questions like I just mentioned. And sometimes we do site visits. I want to make it abundantly clear that a site visit is not an indicator of funding. It is sometimes we do site visits if a grant application, if we need to see it, it would be better if we were in person. We have some clarifying questions. Maybe it's something to do with the building and we kind of want to see the building. That does not mean that you're going to get funding, and I just don't want your hearts broken. That don't get your hopes up. It just means we just have questions, okay? I mentioned that the grant panel makes recommendations to the board, and the board finalizes all of our grants and approves them all. So if you are a Bernie Regional Community Fund applicant, you will hear by the end of March. Either way, we send all award and denial by email. And if you're Reading Rancheria or the McConnell Fund, it'll be by the end of May. So Bernie's the end of March, Reading Rancheria and McConnell by the end of May. Basically about 3 months-ish from the deadline to apply. If you are awarded a grant, you're going to get an email saying you're awarded with a link to sign the grant agreement. We can't write your check and mail you the money until you do that. We want you to pretty please take pictures throughout your whole project, before, during, after. We do a lot of promotion of our nonprofits in the community and the Community Foundation in the community, and we can't do that without good pictures. because that tells a story to our fund advisors. That tells a story to the community. It promotes you in the community for the work you're doing, and then it promotes people wanting to create funds here so we can make the grants out to you. So this is really valuable. It's a part of our partnership with you. So I mentioned this before, I made it bigger here. If you got new chairs and you send me this as your picture as like, hey, thank you for the chairs, they're great. That's so boring and I can't put that on the website. I'm not gonna put it on social. I'm like, what? But here where Megan's like, thank you for my chair, I'm so excited. That's fun. We can do a fun post on this. So just be really thoughtful about that. Also track your projects and your expenses. If there are significant changes, because that happens, just reach out to me. Do we need to do a little like tweaking here and there, what the expectations are, when it's going to end? Do you need a tiny extension? Things like that. I'm totally accessible. I'm here for you. Reach out to me. We can have a good relationship working together. I'd like you to all to please make note of these bullets here. If you're acknowledging the grant that you receive from us, it's not, if it's a McConnell Fund grant, it's not a grant from the McConnell Foundation. So, because they do their own separate grants. This is a fund at the Community Foundation of the North State. So no matter what grant it is, we need it acknowledged as the fund name of Community Foundation of the North State. That's how it gets acknowledged. And if you're doing anything and you want us to check it first to make sure it's cool, go for it. We'll check it and say, yeah, that's really, really great. Thank you for checking with us before going to publication. And then you'll get emails about a grant report. They're due within 12 months after you're receiving your grant. If you finish your project early and you spent all your money, if you have more than $50 left over, your grant's not done. So we need to talk and I can chat with you and coach you through that. But let's say you spend all your money, your grant's done, and you're finished like 6 months early because you can do the grant report early and get it out of your system, like be done. And then we have the material and can check off that your grant is finished. If you don't get a grant, I want to tell you that I really empathize. For over 20 years, I worked in the nonprofit world in the North State, and we put our love, our heart, our sweat, our tears, and we get really anticipatory and hopeful about getting grants. And it really hurts our little hearts when we don't. And I mean that from personal experience. So, and we all know that here. So we get it. If you have questions, reach out. If I have constructive feedback about your grant application, I will share that with you. I want to help you grow. I want to help you improve. There are so many times that there is no positive feedback, no constructive feedback. You didn't do anything wrong. It's just literally in this window of time, these other ones were more compelling. Just became more important for the community or to the panel. And there's nothing you could have done differently. And I'm sorry for those times that I don't have any constructive feedback. I'm just putting the example on the slide here, like to give you an idea of the scope. So and this is not uncommon, in spring of 24, usually it's about $100,000 that the Reading Rancheria Community Fund has available for their grants, and we received over $400,000 in asks. So you can see how it's not hard to stretch the imagination to say, yeah, you could have done nothing wrong with your application and it just didn't, other ones just got funded. And please reapply next round. That actually looks good when you don't give up and you come back and you're like, okay, it sucked, but I'm going to come back and apply again. It looks good for you. So anything, Megan, before I move on to the few other resources that I do want you to hang on. Don't get off the slide yet. I want to show you a couple slides. Any questions though?
There is. Can funds be used to pay a loan that would be required to do the project?
You cannot use the money for anything that's been expensed prior to. So no. So okay. It needs to be your expenses have to have happened after the grant agreement was signed. Mm-hmm. So it can't be.
Perfect. And if they buy something and it's on sale and they have money left over, they would just need to reach out to you via email. Is that correct? Email's
the best way, because what you can tell me is, this is what happened. This is why I have money left over. This is how I want to use it. And if it's already past the deadline, this is how much time I need as an extension. Those are the things that I'm going to ask you in order to assess if we need you to send the money back, or if we say, no, go ahead. This is great. Continue helping the people you're serving.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we recently, when I say we, I mean Andrea and Carrie, our CEO and our Chief Philanthropy Officer, that it's a half an hour webinar and it's on our YouTube channel. Megan's going to put the link in. Covers a variety of things to help you with fundraising, to plan giving strategies, for resource connection. It's a great webinar. We keep getting so much good feedback. So I highly recommend you look at that for other ways to develop your nonprofits. Since Megan put the link, I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on this screen. I promised you about the scholarships. Please tell people we are accepting scholarship applications. So if you know of anybody, it's open and the deadline is February 25th. The link's in the chat. Can you believe I'm talking about Christmas? North State Giving Tuesday is December 1st this year. For those of you who don't know, North State Giving Tuesday is a part of the National Giving Day, which is the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It is a crowdfunding fundraising platform where this year we raised over 1.46 million for the North State. Last year it was 1.6, all in one day. So you want to be a part of this. Check back in August for registration. There's links in there for our flip book that tells you a lot more details and the kind of overview of what it is. And of course, that's northstategives.org is the website. And that's it. 3 minutes to go. Okay, thank you for listening. That's our website, our emails. Make sure you add us as contacts, social media. We have a lot of announcements that go on in social media. And we have a lot, if you go to our website, sign up for our newsletter. We send that out with information about upcoming grant opportunities and other information. Yeah. I will be sending out, we have to work on this, make it a YouTube, but put on the YouTube channel, and then we'll send you the link. I have the PDF of the slides. And hi, Regina, you're welcome. And Nathan, all my friends out there. Okay, I'm so glad you're all here. I am reachable. We're all reachable. We all want to help you succeed. Do not hesitate to reach out to us. And as the deadline gets closer, I have less time in my schedule. So reach out to me sooner than later. And I will answer all your questions and help you make the best applicant possible. All right, that's it. Thanks, you guys.